Hello, everyone. I see two familiar faces, and it's so nice to be with you. I'd like to introduce myself to those of us just meeting for the first time. My name is Sara Cunningham, born and raised here in Oklahoma City. Three familiar faces. Born and raised here in Oklahoma City. This is a little out of my wheelhouse. I'm a secretary for an architectural firm. So let's turn on the Oh, I had to turn it back on. Thank you.
Eric, can you dial back?
Sorry.
Air, it's blowing so
I got nervous.
and it's cold.
I don't know what's that, Susan.
Quick connect maybe.
Just meditate on the Word of God right now when we have a little prayer for a second.
It's totally worth it for service.
I don't think I touched it.
No. Yeah.
While we're waiting on that to get started, I wanted to just talk about the scriptures that were chosen this evening. So beautiful and just beautifully read by those here. In Isaiah, where the scripture says, "Here I am," I want to tell you about how I came about learning how to address a burden. When I see a burden, something is asked of me, I always ask myself, Lord, is this my burden? And if I get an idea or an idea that I feel like would help, then I know it's probably what I should do. But if nothing really, comes to me, or it's like, if nothing is really simple, like, oh, I can do that, then it's probably not my burden. So I just wanted to encourage you with that. And when you see a need that just breaks your heart, if you feel that it's your burden and you go and you serve in whatever capacity, in whatever you have, to use what you have and do the best that you can with what you've got, where you're at, you'll be successful and you'll have real joy. And you'll know that it's the right thing for you to be doing. I'm over 50. I feel confident that this is what I'm supposed to be talking about. This is the journey that I am on in navigating through having a gay child. I'm a woman of faith. And having said that, I'll start the TV show if we have that ready. Thank you. That is my husband and I, Rex Allen, also known as the Silver Fox. And we grew up together, and I noticed his brown, beautiful hair and his brown eyes when I was about 15, and when I turned about 18 and wearing a two-piece bathing suit, he noticed me for the first time. Rex got his own place, and the next slide, please. And we got pregnant. And we moved in together. Next slide, please. This is just some back history to tell you about how I came to the tour. This is our home, our first home that we bought. So we met, we got pregnant, we bought the house, and I think then we got married. So, next slide, please. And so our first child, Travis, in the McDonald's shirt, he wasn't planned. Rex and I obviously liked each other. Hi, James, come on in and sit down, honey. We obviously liked each other, but we were not ready for a child. But we just honored the commitment that we made to each other, and it was a real struggle. We were in survival mode. for the first probably 5 years of our marriage. Parker, our youngest child, was planned, and we decorated the nursery and went to Lamaze classes, and it was a wonderful experience. We adore, obviously, both our children. Is it working out? Oh, beg your pardon. Oh, don't look. So, so Travis was invited to church camp, and we got plugged into a local church, and we started serving there. This was the hub in the neighborhood. The basement served as a storm shelter in severe weather. We had boating there. It was just a hub of activity. I didn't pay any mind to what denomination it was. And we served for the better part of 20 years in this church. We had wonderful experiences with our church family. It was our church home. We served inside and outside of that building, and we had, for the majority, a wonderful experience with the body there. It was an inner city church. Lots of people came in and out of there, but I loved it. I loved inner city living with this church. Fast forward about 5 years, and that's Parker. We had company at the house, and he was upstairs playing with a friend. We had company, and we were downstairs in the kitchen, and all of a sudden Parker comes barreling down the stairs in one of my dresses. He's so excited, and he's twirling and squealing, and we had never seen that expression from him. We were so shocked and surprised, but his hair was wet with sweat, just in that moment. And but it was the first time I thought to myself, this is kind of odd. I didn't know what to think of that. But it just so happens that we caught that picture. So, but we stayed plugged into the church. The boys grew up. They never argued about going. We were there every time the church doors were open. Every time there was a church camp, we were there front and center. We didn't have same-sex couples in our church. Homosexuality was not preached upon, either positively or negatively. It just no one ever spoke of it. We didn't have same-sex marriages. No one spoke of it. And Parker, when he was about 10, 12 years old, I was in the kitchen, he came in and he said, "Mom, I think I'm gay." I said, "Why would you think that?" And he said, "Well, I don't think like other boys do at school. I'm always, I have girlfriends and I like to, hang out with the girls." I said, "Well, just don't even think about that stuff right now. Let's just get through school, okay?" And I just shut down the conversation. He went to his room, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, okay? We had several conversations like that. We spent most of his childhood, me taking his spiritual temperature and him still confirming that, in fact, he was gay. Stayed plugged into church. I was even more determined to have him there. I was praying for a holy bolt of lightning to strike and to make my son normal. And but that never happened. As I tried to come to terms with that, Parker, when he was in high school, he came to us and said, "Mom, I'm gay." And I said, "Everyone at your school is gay. Even your principal is gay." And I couldn't get past the sexual aspect of it. That was the first thing that came to my mind. He said, "Mom, it's not even about sex. It's about who I am as a person, and I plan on being a virgin for a long time." And that was really the extent of our heated conversation. He went to bed, and I went into a tailspin. When Parker was 21, we had lunch together, and he said, "Mom, I met someone, and I need you to be okay about it." And that day, he faced his biggest fear, which was me. And that day, I faced the reality that I could no longer control the situation. We could no longer pray the gay away. And that's when I had to come to terms of what it meant to be a woman of faith with a gay child. When Parker introduced us to Cole, Parker just blossomed as a man. He took a stand as a gay man. He was 21 when we had that conversation. But within a matter of days, I saw Parker have a greater degree of confidence in himself, not a boastful or a prideful thing, but he was confident. He never wavered in who he was. If anything, he was fearful of how he would be received from his family, from his church body. I went into a tailspin. I could not sleep. I had to re-examine everything that I believed. I love the scripture. I love the Word of God. I love the Spirit of God and the church body and our congregation. And I didn't know how to have this conversation with my peers that we had served with for 20 years. I re-examined everything that I believed. I tried searching for help online. I knew conversion therapy was not an option. The one book that I found I thought might be remotely helpful was a woman who had 2 children. One died in a horrible automobile accident, and the other came out as a lesbian. There were 2 daughters, and she wrote about how it's easier to accept the death of a child than the sexual identity of the other. That was devastating to me. It wasn't helpful, and it wasn't hopeful. As I tried to share with my peers in our church, I was just met with types of things like, well, love the sinner, hate the sin. And as we would pray for our son, they would say that maybe, Lord, that he'd been turned over to the wiles of the enemy, and that his mind had been, what are the words? I'm sorry, I'm kind of at a loss here, but it was devastating. And at the time, I didn't understand it, but now I do that the church did not know what to do with us. They didn't know how to minister to us. And it was devastating as a woman of faith and as a mother. And I just felt like I was in limbo. At one time, I was in my bed depressed, and my family knew that I was depressed, but extended family or friends just thought that I had the flu. And I was in bed, and Parker came to visit me in our room, and he laid down beside me, and he said, "Mom, are you going to be okay?" I said, "Yeah, babe, I just got to figure this out." And he said, "I understand, but I need you to know that I sucked it up for 21 years being your son. I need you to suck it up and be my mom." And that got me out of bed. And I started really digging deep and getting educated on what it meant to have a gay child, to be a woman of faith. And I found, I went to our first Pride Parade with Parker, and at that time Cole and him were dating. And I went to our first Pride Parade, and it was about him not having to be shameful anymore, that there were no secrets between us. We could talk about anything, and we did, and he was so patient with me and helped me get past talking about getting the idea that it was just about a sex thing, when that's a very small part of it. And I wrote a book about our journey, and it's titled How We Sleep at Night, and it's how I got to sleep at night. I'm not a scholar or a theologian. This is how I got through it. We had pivotal moments, and I wrote it for other moms like me, just in hopes of being helpful to them and offering hope. About the same time that the book came out, I found a private online Facebook group of moms with LGBT kids. The group started with 250 moms. We all have the same story, feeling alienated and separated from our church homes, alienated and separated from society. When Parker came out, we were right in the middle of the Chick-fil-A, the Boy Scouts debate, and the same-sex marriage. And I just felt like everything was pointing to my son and condemning my son. It was devastating. I found the online private Facebook group. We had 250 moms. The group grew so big and so large that we had to split the group up into 3 different groups. I stayed in one just because that's where my relationships are, and I haven't checked recently, but I bet we're at or over 2,000 moms. We write letters to city and state officials who are trying to pass laws that are detrimental to our children, to companies who hire and support our transgender children through transition, and to churches who lose everything to become affirming. We are moving mountains. One of the first few months in the moms group, I remember a mother new to the group. She said something like their child had just come out to them, and she said, "I don't even know how to pray anymore. I don't even know how to breathe." And all the moms came onto that thread and they said, "Then don't. You let us breathe for you and you let us pray for you." And that is what resources, what support, what wellspring, because there's no judgment when you're wondering about the sex. There's no judgment when you need to talk about, how your transgender daughter wants to transition and change their name and their hair, and you work through it together. And I can't imagine my walk without that group. The next year I went to the Pride Parade. I made a homemade pin called Free Mom Hugs, and I offered my book and resources for parents. The stories I heard that day were devastating and horrifying. Children who had been separated from their parents. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. So the next year I made up a banner with Free Mom Hugs, and some moms and we walked through the Oklahoma City Pride Parade, and the response was so great that we had more social media hits than the concert. I'm not saying that to boast, I'm just saying that's how huge the need is here in Oklahoma City. I like to use this picture of an illustration of this is what affirming looks like. And I became an official mama bear. And there was a time in my life where I said, if Parker's going to hell for being gay, then I need to stand up and fight for him like my hair is on fire. Well, this is what it looks like, because I no longer believe that Parker's going to hell for being gay, and I'm going to stand up and fight for him like my hair is on fire. And stand for the other moms, for the other children. And I'm shocked and surprised that I still hear horror stories just because I've become fully affirming and I talk about it as long as there's horror stories going on. But I'm continually shocked and surprised at what faith does, a false faith, I don't know what you call it, but I don't know why I'm so emotional. Well, I know why. So we went to the Women's March, and after the election, no matter where you stand on the subject politically, I'm the least politically minded person you will probably ever meet. But after the election, I started hearing great fear and anxiety, not only from the community, which I'm involved with. I have several projects going on here, so I have a pulse rate, if you will, on the community here. I also was hearing from the moms great anxiety and fear for their children. And I laid in my bed, as I often do, and I try to solve the world's problems like many of us. And I laid there and I asked, Lord, what can I do? What can I do? And that's when I heard the still small voice say, well, you got that banner. And I said, I'm going to walk that banner to Washington, D.C. And I'm going to ask America not to forget about our children. And as mothers, we're not going to let you. Well, the next morning, I think I posted, on the private Facebook group for moms. I said, hey, I'm going to take that banner to Washington, D.C. And the next morning, I informed my husband of my bright idea. He said, no, you're not going to take that. You're not going to walk that banner, Sarah. It would take you 3 days to get to Tulsa. So we had to kind of brainstorm about how that was going to happen. I said, please, let's just keep it on the table until I figure out, because I knew I had to do something. I wanted to do something. And so rather than make a political statement out of it, a few other moms and I brainstormed, and we decided we're going to take the banner, not walking. We're going to take the banner from 39th Street to the Stonewall Inn. And rather than make a political statement out of it, we'll make a humanitarian effort with it, because we have to remember that moms are on both sides. And I haven't always been on this side. So we got together, and here I'm seated with my friend. This is the first meeting that we had together to brainstorm on this project. Her name is Laura Beth. She is a trans woman. We met at the Gay Christian Network conference. A beautiful person. She's written her own memoir called Shattering Masks. She's brilliant and knows about navigating and planning and organizing, whereas unlike myself, I fly by the seat of my pants, ask questions later. So she said, I have an idea. Let's take the Free Mom Hugs tour, and we'll go to the Stonewall Inn, and we'll have 10 city stops along the way. We'll have moms help us in each place, and we'll plan luncheons with city, state, business, and faith leaders. And we'll plan a luncheon to just have a dialogue. We're not there to debate anything or change anybody's doctrine. We're just there to have a dialogue of how and what they're doing that affects our children. And in the evening time, we'll have, well, let's see, that's just the logo that we went with. And so that's the Let's Talk portion. That's where we had the luncheon with the officials and leaders there. And the Let's Walk portion. The Let's Walk portion was mostly in the evening, where we went to the districts and we just offered free mom hugs. In the gay bars, on the strip, if there wasn't a gay bar or a strip, we found a P flag or a youth group, and we just shared our stories, talked about how important and valued they are. This is the Oklahoma City group. You might recognize one of your own, Katrina, there. And but this is the Oklahoma City group. They helped us get organized to help us plan the luncheon and the walk here. And this is the Tulsa group. And it was months in the planning. We prayed for an RV, and it just so happened that Laura Beth's parents had one. And they were trying to sell it, and since then they took it off the market and offered it to us. This will be an annual event. Every year we will leave in Oklahoma City on Northwest 39th Street, and we will have a destination, and we will always land there on Mother's Day. Does that make sense? So we'll leave here May 1st and end up where we're going on Mother's Day and spend Mother's Day with the community there. Next year it'll be the Matthew Shepard site. Matthew Shepard's story, if you don't know that, it's just every mother's nightmare. And so we're going to go there and try to raise awareness. So back to the tour, we got the RV, and it's a 38-footer. We had 3 people there. We had myself, Laura Beth, and Corey, a young lady who's a student working on a film, and but she couldn't stay with us the whole time. So that's why the pictures are kind of sketchy, because she had to leave and she had all the equipment. So I was left with the resources of my cell phone. So this is the Oklahoma City group. This is at our luncheon. We had mostly faith-based leaders there. We had Peggy Johnson sing songs, Cherie shared, Pastor Kayla was there. We had a wonderful group. A lot of the moms and the dads there, they didn't even know about 39th Street. They'd never been in a gay bar. It was a wonderful experience for all of us. And that's just another picture there. We just went bar to bar and offered mom hugs. And that's us traveling to Tulsa. This is Tamara Jennings. She's part of the moms group. She had a gay son, Zachary. Zachary had an undetected heart condition, and he died riding his skateboard right outside his high school. It was, of course, devastating, but the story that I want to share about Tamara and her family is that they were not plugged into a local church. They had a minister that lived a couple of doors down from them with an affirming church, and they offered to do the memorial service for their son. And after much thought and consideration, they went back to the minister and they said, yes, you can do the memorial service, but you have to honor everything about our son. You have to celebrate all of Zachary's life. And they did. They had a rainbow display out with a beautiful picture of Zachary and his boyfriend at the time. They had students come in and felt comfortable enough. They were holding hands, grieving with each other. It was a beautiful experience. Some of the moms and I were able to go, and it was a wonderful, beautiful witness from a non-affirming church to minister to this family, and they did. She's also plugged into the Equality Center in Tulsa and just has poured herself into the community there. This was not an announced schedule or announced stop. This is in Topeka, Kansas. If some of you are familiar with the Westboro Baptist Church, right across the street from the Westboro Baptist Church is the Equality House. and it's just painted in rainbow colors. And we went there to focus on the Equality House and not to bring attention to the Westboro. And we certainly didn't want to bring attention to ourselves, so we didn't announce that this was happening until we did it. And I don't know if you can see the banner there, but on the top of the house it says GodHatesFlags.com. They really don't hide they tell you exactly how they feel. And but we got to visit with the Equality House facilitator, and they said that they have a community garden out front, and it's the humanitarian part, or the normalcy of the congregants from Westboro will come over and give them gardening tips, and their children play on the same basketball team. So we have to remember, and this is, and I quote from Davis, the facilitator of the Equality House, saying, we need to remember that we're human, and we're to love our enemies, but we also need to remember what they're capable of, the damage that they've done, and the damage they are doing. And I thought that was a very loving and interesting way to view a neighbor that wants to cause harm. That's the Equality House, and right next door, I don't know if we got a picture of it, is a house, and it's painted with transgender colors. This is our next stop in Missouri. This is a transgender choir, and you have high school and above. That's a smaller group, but you had two individuals there that said that's the only time that they could be authentic, to live authentic when they were singing choir, and how the choir saved their life because they were able to worship and together with the community there, and their self outside of that room. So that was their sanctuary. That's my laptop. That's all right, love. That's how it is. This is Steph. Steph is a trans woman. We met her in Missouri, in St. Louis, Missouri, and Steph, just confidence that I've never claimed to see an aura, but if she had one, I think it would just be like brighter than the sun. Steph has a speech impediment and Tourette's that causes her face to conflict. And I don't mean this disrespectfully. She and I have talked about this because I wanted to share her story, but there are times when she's having a tic or a stuttering issue that literally it's contorted and it looks almost monstrous, like you think of Frankenstein. And I only say that because can you imagine the setbacks? And she lived with this her whole life. And on top of that, being transgender. But what was amazing is her confidence. She was beautiful and just a magnet to all of us, not just me. And those legs, it's like, we met for lunch and she was in a nice little, almost looked like a dress, very conservatively. And then we went on the strip for our walk portion of the tour. And she picks us up and she's got these leather pants on, legs for days, and just confidence. That's also Steph there. I found this picture on her Facebook page, and I loved it. And I asked her about it, and she says that, I wrote it down because I want to quote it right. She says, I see a girl in the painting as the girl that I should have been. I look at the photo with such longing, and it breaks my heart. That evening we spent time together on the Grove. And that's a strip, much like ours, but it's celebrated a little more than ours. But she said that she had gone there years ago, but she wasn't received well. That the community did not receive her, she was mocked, just not welcomed at all, so she hadn't been. And she was a little nervous because she was our host. She drove us there and was going to spend the evening with us there. And I want to tell you that when we entered the first bar that we were in, she was almost like a bodyguard. Like she was watching the door, and I could feel her watching. There were three of us, remember, Laura Beth, myself, and Corey. And so she was watching us. But within probably an hour and a half, she was hugging. People were hugging her, receiving her. And I really believe it's the ripple effect. When you're kind, when you're receiving, when you are kind, you encourage other people to be kind too. I learned this with my own son. I saw people accept him when I didn't really know how or want to, quite frankly. And that's humiliating, but that's how I learned too. So it was wonderful to see her blossom like that. This is our time in Spencer, Indiana. It's the smallest community in the United States, and this community center just hosted its 7th Pride Festival. And they do so much community service, much like Church of the Open Arms and Cathedral of Hope. I'm just so impressed with this little powerhouse of a building, and they hosted a time there, but even Walmart supports them. And they do a lot of good things for the very smallest community in the United States, coming from the Equality Center there. And it was wall-to-wall people. The first 4 people that I visited with there, they were not together. They were 2 allies and 2 from the community. Every one of them frustrated to the point of tears with the local church. There's not one affirming church there, and they were so frustrated to the point of tears. And that's an ongoing conversation in the moms group as well. Moms in the group will say, well, why would you put your tithe and your energy into a place that's not receiving your son, not celebrating their spiritual gifts? Why would you put your tithe and your energy into a place? And, the children feel like they're not welcome, and so they kind of quit going. They kind of, withdraw. And then the parents feel like they have to choose. And before long, the parent just quit going because they feel like they have to choose. And they end up in limbo. Fortunately, a lot of them will find an affirming church if there is one. But it is unfortunate. This is also Spencer. Wonderful time there. And this is just traveling. And this is the Hive. This is in Cincinnati. We got there, and I think the luncheon was scheduled for at 1:15 comes around, 1:20 comes around. No one's coming. We think, do we have the right planes? Did we get the, because all these are public events. Anyone could come. Finally, about maybe 20 minutes past the hour, a young lady walks in. She's probably late 30s, 40. She walked in, and the facilitator of the house there said, have you been here before? And she goes, yeah, I came here last summer for a parenting class. He goes, oh, how did you like it? And she goes, actually, I left more discouraged than when I came in because it was for couples, and I'm a single parent. And I left very discouraged because everything that they taught or introduced or offered was for couples. And she was very upset about it. The facilitator obviously felt bad about it. So we sat down, we had an informal meeting, and near the end of the time together, she started welling up, and she came out to us. She came out to us as a lesbian and confessed that she had never uttered those words before, that she had same-sex attraction, and she married young. She had children, hoping that would resolve or change her. And I'm convinced that what I was thinking might have been like, oh, why is it just one person that it was ordained? That she was able to share that with us where she might not have had there been a room full of people. This is in Virginia at the library there. We had probably 50 people or more, mostly educators. Previously on the tour, through digressing, trying to figure out, okay, how can we be cohesive here? Because we have Laura, Beth, and myself sharing. And it was brought up that, well, why don't you not share, maybe don't share religion or don't share politics if you just have educators in the room. But after much discussion, we thought, no, we're sharing everything because you have to know how the decisions that are made are affected in every area, in our faith, in our politics, in society. So I thought that was interesting that we shared everything with educators, and it was received there very well. Traveling again, this was a bookstore that we met, again, one mom, and she had started 3 different groups. She has a transgender daughter, and she was telling me about everything that she had done. I said, who helped you? What organization, did you go to? She goes, just me, myself, and I, is what she said. And it was amazing to me that she was a single mom with a transgender daughter. She saw a need, and she just did it. And she had 3 churches helping her with a meeting space, and just growing. This is a home that we visited to. This is a small congregation. There's a mom in this group that has a gay child. She's in the group with us, but she invited us to dinner. And what I thought was interesting with this particular group is that they knew her story, so they didn't really need to hear mine. Does that make sense? But Laura Beth was able to share her story, and these people admittedly said they had never been in the same room with a transgender person. They probably had. But, and so Laura Beth was really able to not only just educate them, and she's so well spoken. I wish she could be here tonight, but it was just wonderful to see that. And this is a little incident that we had. We dragged that little car in the back about 3 feet. Yeah. This is in Philadelphia. When we looked for something to do in Philadelphia, we could not make connections anywhere. The only place that kept repeatedly coming up on my search when I was looking for something to do while we were there was the LGBTQ Home of Hope. And it's a homeless shelter, which we really didn't plan on visiting homeless shelters. We weren't opposed to it, but we were focused on the luncheons and the district. So we made contact with them, and it's a homeless shelter. We didn't announce it or make an event there because it is a homeless shelter. And you just want to keep the privacy and the safety for the residents there. There's 40 residents there. There's probably 37 when we visited. And before we went there, we thought, what could we possibly take to these people? Because they're not interested in, necessarily the luncheon or the talk portion of the project. So we decided we'll make them dinner. And chicken and dumplings, it's cheap, it's good, stick to your ribs food, it smells good, it's like home cooking. And while we bought the groceries, took it to the house, and while we were cooking in the kitchen, there were dancing going on in the dining room, and it was really like the kids were home for Mother's Day. It was wonderful. We had a great time there. But it was really inner city. It was derelict. I probably wouldn't want to be there after dark. I don't mean that disrespectfully, but that's the kind of area that it was in. But what I loved about it, what made me be able to leave that place without losing sleep, is that they have a sense of community there. That they all were taking care of each other. They didn't have enough silverware so that everybody could eat at one time. They would finish eating and wash their silverware for the next person. If someone was working a shift, they made sure to save a plate for that person. There was one young man there who, he showed me the place, and I thought, wow, this place is clean. Well, it was clean because they didn't have nothing. And he had a bed with a sheet and a plastic sheet over it, and that's it. And so we're working on getting supplies to them. That's Kenny. He's the young man who gave me the tour there. And these are some of the facilitators there. And we're traveling again, and this is Stonewall Inn. We made our way on Mother's Day to Stonewall Inn. We had to file for a permit because we served food there, and we had a group of moms there with a banner, so we had to file for a permit to have a meeting there. And we were the first group to be offered a permit. I always forget what this is called. Thank you. We are the first group to be awarded a permit to exercise our First Amendment right. Now, the Stonewall has not been a historical site for very long, but that's why we made history, because we were the first group to be honored that permit. So we did make history. And this is the last picture I took at Stonewall Inn. As I was leaving, I looked inside and I snapped my phone, and I just wanted to remember what it looked like. We spent several hours there, and this woman was outside the Stonewall Inn when we first got there. She waited and waited, and when we were outside at one time, I thought, what is she doing? I said, hey, what brings you here? And started a conversation, visiting with her. Her name's Phyllis. And she was waiting on her hairdresser to get there. He was competing in their drag show to be Miss Stonewall. And she was waiting. And I'm not kidding you. She was probably there 2.5, 3 hours in a walker, like sitting there. And through visiting with her, I said, well, what do you want the world to know about your friend? And she said, that he's my friend. And I thought that was a pivotal moment for that. And that's just the front door there. Again, we made history through the First Amendment right. And that's it. When you are able to have and start a conversation, that I used to say, well, it's a sensitive conversation, it's a sensitive subject, but it doesn't have to be. And I believe that we've been duped by the evangelical, non-affirming church. And I believe that it's the affirming church and the work like that of Cathedral of Hope and the Church of the Open Arms that will repair the breach. You are repairers of the breach. There was a time in my living room when we had a fellowship there, and an older gentleman that served in our church for 20 years said, "You know, there's a new church down the road, right?" I said, "What do you mean?" He had everyone's attention in the living room. He said, "It's one of those churches." And I remember that so vividly in my mind, that moment. If you only knew the lives that you've saved. I've seen people in the community getting plugged back into and their spiritual gifts celebrated here. Thank you. Thank you. There was a time that I was laying in my bed, and it was the first night that I verbally thanked God for giving me a gay son. I said, "Thank you, Lord, for giving me a gay child." And at that time, I felt like something had returned to me, like the Holy Spirit in a warm blanket. But looking back, knowing what I know now, I realized that something was added to me. I experienced God to a much greater degree. I see beautiful, beautiful dynamics and spiritual gifts in this community. And that 39th Street should be celebrated and recognized as an important part of our history and our future. At one time I begged Parker not to go to 39th Street. I just knew there was a hate crime or an orgy in the street. That was my thinking. That's what fear and ignorance does. But now my hair is on fire to see it celebrated and recognized as a beautiful, vibrant, Spirit-filled place. So thank you for inviting me. You can follow the tour on Facebook. This will be an annual event until we run out of places to go, I pray, in my lifetime. I just thank you so much for your prayers, for your continued encouragement. And I love the city. I'm so thankful. In the dining hall, I've made poster boards. One says, "Take one if you need it, leave one if you can." They have Post-it notes there. It's an encouraging word. If you could just take a minute and write, "I love you," or "You matter," or "I see you," or, "I stand with you," something, and post it on there. And I'm going to take it to the Pride Parade. We're going to have it at the Mom Hugs table. And visitors can take one and leave one. On the other poster board, it says, "Say what you want." Someone probably needs to hear it. And these are things that we want to say that may be hard to say face to face. Say it. And I'm going to have cards there. This is the cover of the book. It is available on Amazon and Kindle. I'm not trying to make a living with it. I'm just trying to help mothers like me, because at the time I thought I was the only one. Okay, and I'm not. There's online private Facebook groups here for moms if you know someone who might be struggling with this. They're not alone, and there's help out there. There's too much information out there now to not have a better understanding on the subject, no matter where you stand, historically, scientifically, biblically, or scripturally. God bless you.